The central character in the story of Arizona's wildlife is not a creature of fur or feather, but the element of water. Its presence and absence is the ultimate force that sculpts the land and dictates the terms of existence. Where water flows, it carves arteries of impossible green through a parched landscape, creating lush riparian corridors that are biodiversity hotspots, entire worlds unto themselves. Where water is scarce, its memory shapes every living thing. It is the defining pressure that has driven the evolution of a kangaroo rat that never needs to drink, a saguaro that stores tons of moisture in its fleshy pulp, and a spadefoot toad that can lie dormant underground for years, waiting for a single life-giving storm. Every strategy for survival, from the puma's patient hunt to the ephemeral bloom of a desert wildflower, is ultimately a response to the fundamental question of water in a world of sun and stone. The journey through Arizona's wilderness is an ascent through 3 great physiographic provinces, each a unique stage for the stories of survival that unfold daily. The states south and west belong to the Basin and Range Province, a starkly beautiful landscape of parallel mountain chains, the Sky Islands, and broad, sun-drenched valleys created by the stretching and fracturing of the Earth's crust. This is the domain of the Sonoran Desert, the most structurally complex and biodiverse desert in North America. It is a world defined by heat and aridity, yet blessed with 2 distinct rainy seasons that sustain a startlingly intricate web of life. A place where evolution has produced some of its most creative and resilient solutions. These sky islands are biological jewels, isolated mountain ranges rising thousands of feet from the desert floor, creating cool, moist habitats that harbor species found nowhere else in the surrounding lowlands, remnants of a cooler, wetter past. Northward, the terrain rises abruptly, in some places by thousands of feet along the Mogollon Rim.
These mountains are biological time capsules. When the last ice age retreated, the climate down here in the valleys became hotter and drier. But up there, she gestures towards the peak, it remained cool and moist. So, species that once covered the landscape retreated upwards. Each sky island became a refuge, a living museum preserving a world that has otherwise vanished.
This is not a mountain range, but a colossal escarpment, a jagged fracture in the land's topography, stretching over 200 miles, that marks the southern edge of the vast Colorado Plateau. This is the transition zone, a biological and climatic crossroads where the ecosystems of the Rocky Mountains meet those of Mexico's Sierra Madre. It is a region of immense ecological tension and richness, a verdant belt of life crowned by the largest contiguous ponderosa pine forest on the continent, a world governed by cool breezes and the scent of pine. This great escarpment acts as a climatic wall, forcing moisture from the south to rise and cool, creating the life-giving precipitation that sustains its forests. Beyond the rim extends the Colorado Plateau itself, a stable, elevated block of crust lifted as a single unit millions of years ago. This is a vast tableland of red, orange and white sedimentary rock, a library of geological time dissected by profound canyons. It is a landscape of immense scale and deep time, a high, cold desert that holds the Grand Canyon where the planet's history is laid bare. Here the stories of predators, grazers and scavengers unfold against a backdrop of endless horizons and profound silence, a world where exposure to the elements is the primary rule of existence. In each of these worlds, life clings to a fragile balance, governed by the same omnipresent challenges. A long-term cycle of drought exerts relentless pressure on every ecosystem. The summer monsoon, a dramatic and vital pulse of life arriving from the south, has become increasingly unpredictable, altering the ancient rhythms of renewal and reproduction. And everywhere, the influence of human activity is felt. A network of roads, fragmented habitats, and altered landscapes that presents new obstacles. This is the stage of Arizona, a land of extreme contrasts, where the ancient stories of geology and climate continue to shape the lives of its most untamed inhabitants. Perhaps no resident is more emblematic of this community than the saguaro, which is more than a plant. It is a living architecture, a keystone species that structures the entire desert community. Its fluted, columnar presence is a testament to patience, each mature individual an ecosystem unto itself. Its life unfolds on a timescale that defies human perception. For its first decade, a young saguaro may be only an inch or two tall, utterly dependent on the shade of a nurse plant, like a Palo Verde tree. This guardian shields it from the brutal sun of the four-summer drought and the jaws of herbivores, creating a microclimate where the seedling has a chance. This period of tutelage can last for decades. Only after 75 years might it grow its first arm, a silent chronicle of past rainy seasons. The saguaro's year is a calendar of desert activity. As the intense, dry heat of late spring settles, its crown erupts with waxy white flowers that unfurl in the cool of the night, releasing a sweet, musky fragrance. This scent is a summons for the lesser long-nosed bat. These crucial pollinators, migrating north from Mexico, arrive in the darkness. They hover before a blossom, their long tongues probing for rich nectar, their faces becoming dusted with pollen, which they carry to the next cactus. As dawn breaks, the bats retreat to their day roosts and the day shift begins. The cooing calls of white-winged doves fill the air. Their entire cycle of renewal is timed to this season of floral and fruit abundance. Native bees, iridescent and buzzing, continue the work the bats began. The percussive drumming of a Gila woodpecker echoes across the Bahada. It is not just feeding, it is engineering a home, chiseling a perfectly cylindrical nesting cavity into the saguaro's fleshy pulp. The cactus responds by forming a tough, callous tissue around the wound, creating a waterproof insulated chamber. When these nests are eventually abandoned, they become hardened saguaro boots, prime real estate for a succession of tenants. The tiny elf owl, the world's smallest, may peer out from one such boot at dusk, its yellow eyes adjusting to the fading light before it begins its nightly hunt for scorpions and beetles. Later, as the flowers give way to ruby-red fruits, the saguaro becomes a banquet hall. The fruits split open, revealing a pulp dense with seeds, offering moisture and energy to coyotes, javelinas, and a host of other creatures, who in turn disperse the seeds, beginning the cycle anew. 40 million seeds a saguaro might produce in its 150-year lifetime. Perhaps only one will survive to become a giant of the desert, its shade offering refuge to creatures who have mastered a different kind of patience.
So you see, the saguaro is so much more than a cactus. It's a multi-generational hotel, a restaurant, and a nursery all in one. A single ancient saguaro has been a silent witness to generations of bats and birds whose entire existence is timed to its life. It isn't just in the ecosystem, it is the ecosystem's organizing principle.
In the saguaro's shadow, a creature of deep time moves with ancient deliberation, the Gila monster, a living relic whose beaded skin of black and orange is a vibrant warning. Its life is a masterclass in energy conservation, a slow rhythm dictated by the seasonal pulse of rain. It spends up to 98% of its existence in subterranean burrows, a hidden life buffered from the desert's temperature extremes. Its emergence in the spring is a slow, methodical affair, prompted by the warming soil. It lumbers across the desert floor, its forked tongue constantly flicking, tasting the air. Each flick brings microscopic particles into its mouth, where they are read by the Jacobson's organ, building a chemical map of its surroundings, a scent picture of potential food. It does not pursue prey, it follows these scent trails to their source. Its targets are the vulnerable and the stationary, the nests of quail, the burrows of desert cottontails, the clutches of reptile eggs buried in the sand. Its metabolism is incredibly slow, adapted to a feast or famine existence. It can consume up to 1/3 of its body weight in a single meal, storing the excess fat in its thick, sausage-like tail. This tail is a visible fuel gauge, plump after a successful spring, tapered after a long winter of inactivity. 3 or 4 substantial meals may be all it needs for an entire year. Its potent venom, delivered through grooved teeth, is not for subduing prey, but for defense, a painful last resort. This ancient creature's saliva also holds a modern secret. A peptide, Exendin-4, has been synthesized to create a revolutionary class of medicines for managing type 2 diabetes, a gift from a life lived in the slow lane. But not all who share its rocky domain rely on venom and patience. Some find their salvation simply by worshipping the sun. A strategy of passive defense perfected by another armored elder of this same landscape. Another reptile shares the Gila monster's rocky domain, but the chuckwalla follows a gentler, herbivorous path as a creature of pure sunshine and stone. This pot-bellied, stout-bodied lizard's day is a simple ritual dictated by the sun. It emerges from a deep rock crevice in the morning and finds a favored basking spot, angling its dark, leathery body to absorb the sun's rays. This solar energy fuels its metabolism, allowing it to move and forage. Its diet consists entirely of the desert's ephemeral bounty, the flowers, fruits and leaves of plants like the creosote bush and brittle bush. The chuckwalla's true genius lies not in aggression, but in defense. Its loose, baggy skin is a key adaptation. When a hawk's shadow passes overhead or a coyote approaches, the chuckwalla scrambles for the nearest narrow rock fissure. Once inside, it executes a remarkable maneuver. It gulps air, inflating its lungs and expanding its body like a leather bag. This inflation wedges it so tightly into the rock that it becomes nearly impossible for a predator to pull it out. It is a passive, immovable defense, a creature that becomes one with the stone fortress it calls home, patiently waiting for the danger to pass, so it may once again emerge to worship the sun.
And that's what's so fascinating about this place. You have this whole spectrum of survival. The chuckwalla's strategy is to simply disappear, to become part of the rock. But just a few feet away, you might have a Gila monster that relies on venom, or a rattlesnake built for a perfect ambush. It's a landscape of extremes, and it has produced an extreme and beautiful variety of solutions to the problem of staying alive.
The desert tortoise is another master of the slow life, navigating the same landscape with an armor of patience forged over millennia. Its high-domed carapace, the color of desert pavement, is a fortress against all but the most determined predators. The tortoise is an ancient engineer. its life centered around the burrows it excavates with its powerful shovel-like front legs. These burrows are not mere shelters, they are critical micro-environments, offering refuge from the lethal summer heat and the freezing cold of winter nights. A single tortoise may use dozens of burrows within its home range, and these shelters become vital resources for other desert dwellers, including Gila monsters, rattlesnakes, and burrowing owls. The tortoise's year is a quiet rhythm of activity and dormancy. They emerge after winter and spring rains to feed on wildflowers, tender grasses, and the juicy pads of prickly pear cactus. They are supremely adapted to conserve water, with a large bladder that can store a significant portion of their body weight in water and waste products, which they can reabsorb when needed. When threatened, a tortoise may void this precious water reserve as a defense mechanism, a potentially fatal decision in times of drought. Their lives unfold over decades, with some individuals living for 80 years or more. But this longevity is deceptive. They are profoundly vulnerable to habitat destruction, vehicle strikes on roads, and an upper respiratory tract disease that has devastated populations. The slow, steady pace of the desert tortoise is now a race against time and human impact. While the tortoise carries its fortress on its back, another creature relies not on defense, but on a deadly patience and the perfect strike, waiting coiled in the dappled shade. While the tortoise relies on defense, the western diamond-backed rattlesnake is coiled in the dappled shade of a creosote bush, waiting as a creature perfectly attuned to the desert's thermal landscape. It is most active during the cooler hours of morning and evening, or entirely at night during the peak of summer. Its hunt is a model of patience and sensory precision. It lies in ambush along a rodent trail, its patterned skin providing nearly flawless camouflage. It does not need to see its prey. Instead, it senses the world in infrared through laureal pits located between its eyes and nostrils. These heat-sensing organs can detect temperature differences of a fraction of a degree, allowing the snake to form a thermal image of an approaching mouse or kangaroo rat in complete darkness. The strike is one of the fastest events in the natural world, a blur of motion as it injects a potent hemotoxic venom. It does not hold its prey. It strikes, retracts, and then follows the scent trail of its envenomated victim, which soon succumbs. The iconic rattle at the end of its tail is not a sign of aggression, but a sophisticated warning. Composed of interlocking segments of keratin, it is vibrated hundreds of times per second to produce its distinctive buzz, a clear signal to any large animal, including humans, to keep its distance. This is a weapon of last resort, an energy-intensive way to avoid a costly physical confrontation. But to understand the hunter, one must first understand its chosen prey, a ricocheting ghost that seems to defy the very laws of the desert. The rattlesnake's primary target is often a creature that seems to defy physics, the kangaroo rat, a living embodiment of survival in a world without water. This small nocturnal rodent never needs to drink. All the moisture it requires is metabolically produced from the dry seeds it eats, a biochemical miracle. Its kidneys are hyper-efficient, producing urine that is many times more concentrated than a human's, minimizing water loss. By night it emerges from its cool, humid burrow to forage. It moves in erratic, ricocheting leaps powered by enormous hind legs, covering up to 6 feet in a single bound. This unpredictable movement makes it an incredibly difficult target for owls and snakes. Its large eyes provide excellent night vision, and its sensitive hearing can detect the faint rustle of an owl's wings. It gathers seeds in external fur-lined cheek pouches, carrying them back to its burrow to be stored in carefully organized caches. Its life is a nocturnal ballet of incredible speed and efficiency, a tiny, ghost-like presence that is a cornerstone of the desert food web. Yet, in this intricate web, even the most effective survivors can fall prey to a hunter whose life cycle is the stuff of nightmares. A flash of metallic blue-black wings and a vibrant orange body signals the presence of one of the desert's most formidable insects, the tarantula hawk wasp. A solitary hunter engaged in a truly macabre life cycle. Her target is the formidable tarantula. The wasp patrols the desert floor, using her antennae to detect the scent of a spider's burrow. When a tarantula is found, a dramatic battle ensues. The wasp must avoid the spider's fangs while maneuvering to deliver a sting. This sting is legendary, ranked among the most painful in the entire insect world, delivering a powerful neurotoxin that paralyzes the spider but does not eliminate it. The wasp then undertakes the Herculean task of dragging the immobilized spider, which can be many times her weight, back to a pre-dug burrow. There, she lays a single egg on the spider's abdomen and seals the chamber. When the larva hatches, it burrows into the living but paralyzed tarantula, consuming it from the inside out, saving the vital organs for last to keep its host alive as long as possible. It is a chillingly efficient strategy, a miniature horror story that plays out daily in the desert scrub. Away from this microscopic terror, a larger, faster drama unfolds on the desert floor, a high-speed chase between a feathered missile and the deadliest serpents. A far more visible drama plays out as a blur of motion streaks across the hardpan, a feathered missile on Z-shaped legs known as the Greater Roadrunner. This legend of the desert floor is a member of the cuckoo family that has traded flight for a terrestrial life of astonishing speed. It can sprint at nearly 20 miles per hour, using its long tail as a rudder and brake for making sharp turns. This speed is not just for escape, it is for the hunt. The Roadrunner is an opportunistic carnivore with a famously broad diet. It will eat anything it can overpower: insects, scorpions, lizards, small birds and rodents. It is most renowned for its ability to prey on rattlesnakes. A roadrunner will circle a snake, wings outstretched and feathers ruffled to present a confusing target while delivering a rapid series of sharp pecks to the back of the snake's head. Once the snake is stunned or eliminated, the roadrunner will swallow it whole, often with the tail of a large snake dangling from its beak for hours as it slowly digests its meal. They are curious, intelligent birds that form monogamous pair bonds, defending their territory year-round with a distinct cooing call that descends in pitch. Their life is a high-speed drama played out on the sun-baked stage of the desert. But what happens when that stage ends, rising thousands of feet into a different world entirely? Leaving the desert heat behind, the journey ascends into the cool, pine-scented air of the Mogollon Rim, a great divide where the sensory experience is transformative. This is the transition zone, a verdant belt of life crowned by the largest contiguous ponderosa pine forest on the continent. The air is thin and crisp, carrying the unmistakable fragrance of pine resin, damp earth and decaying needles. On a warm afternoon, the ponderosa pines themselves release a scent like vanilla or butterscotch from their deeply fissured bark. The dominant sound is the whisper of wind moving through millions of pine needles, a constant soothing sigh that is the forest's breath. Here in the highlands, vast forests thrive, and the narrative centres on the lives of the mammals who inhabit them and the elemental force that shapes their world. For in these highlands, all life is born from and ultimately returns to a single, terrifying and life-giving element, fire. To understand this landscape, one must understand its fundamental relationship with fire, an elemental force that has historically acted as a gardener for these vast forests. Historically, these forests were shaped by frequent low-intensity surface fires ignited by lightning. These fires cleared out underbrush, recycled nutrients, and maintained an open, park-like structure with large, resilient ponderosa trees spaced far apart. The scent after such a fire was one of renewal. However, a century of fire suppression has allowed these forests to become choked and dense, transforming the natural fire regime into one of catastrophic forest-altering megafires. The health of every creature in this ecosystem is tied to the restoration of this ancient cleansing force. It is in the silence after such a fire, in the new growth and open spaces, that the true master of this landscape moves, a ghost that walks on silent paws. A healthy fire promotes the growth of grasses and forbs that feed elk and deer, while a catastrophic one can sterilize the soil for decades. Against the backdrop of this fire-molded forest, a shadow moves, the puma, the region's apex predator whose life is one of stealth and solitude. Also known as the mountain lion or cougar, this ghost patrols a vast territory that can span hundreds of square miles. Its tawny coat is the color of dry pine needles and rock, rendering it nearly invisible. Its hunt is a meticulous stalk. The puma moves with liquid grace, placing each paw with deliberate silence, using every boulder and log for cover. Its powerful hind legs allow for explosive acceleration and incredible leaps. The final rush is a breathtaking display of athleticism, often culminating in a bite to the back of the neck that severs the spinal cord of its prey. After securing a deer or young elk, it will drag the bounty to a secluded spot, covering it with forest debris to create a cache it will revisit for several days. A female raises her spotted kittens alone. For nearly 2 years, she is their sole protector and teacher. The lessons are incremental and vital. Finally, they join her on hunts, observing her technique, learning the art of the silent approach, and the final decisive moment. The puma's presence is a powerful force that shapes the entire ecosystem through the landscape of fear. Elk and deer avoid foraging in dense thickets where they are vulnerable. This allows willows and aspens in those areas to grow taller, stabilizing stream banks and creating habitat for songbirds. The puma, through its silent patrols, acts as an ecological architect, shaping the very ground its prey walks upon. And that prey, the most common subject of the puma's patient hunt, is a creature of enormous ears and explosive energy.
That landscape of fear is one of the most powerful forces in nature. It's not just about the deer the puma catches, it's about the thousands it keeps moving. By preventing herds from lingering in one spot, the puma inadvertently protects young trees and shrubs, which in turn protects the riverbanks from erosion. The presence of one single elusive predator ripples through the health of the entire forest.
The puma's silent patrols shape the very ground its prey walks upon, and that prey, the most common subject of its patient hunt, is the mule deer, an icon of the western landscape, instantly recognizable by its enormous mule-like ears that constantly swivel to capture the faintest sounds. It is a creature of edges, thriving where the forest meets meadows and rocky slopes. Unlike the smaller, more secretive Coues white-tailed deer, the mule deer is more open in its habits, often seen browsing in small groups at dawn and dusk. Its most distinctive trait is its method of escape. When alarmed, a mule deer will not simply run. It engages in a unique four-hoofed bounding gait called stotting, where it springs into the air, all 4 feet leaving and landing on the ground at the same time. This seemingly inefficient way of moving allows the deer to clear obstacles, get a better view, and act as an honest signal to a pursuing predator that it is strong and healthy and perhaps not worth the chase. They are primarily browsers. Their diet of twigs and leaves a crucial difference from the grazing elk that share these forests. As the deer settle for the night and the last light fades from the canyons, the daytime world gives way to a new shift. A different hunter emerges, and its haunting call becomes the true voice of the deepest canyons. That ghostly 4-note hoot belongs to the Mexican spotted owl, a bird of old-growth forests and steep, rocky canyons. This federally threatened species' survival is tied to the health of these mature ecosystems. With dark eyes set in a pale circular facial disc and a mottled pattern that makes it nearly invisible against tree bark, the spotted owl is a master of nocturnal stealth. Its specialized feathers have soft frayed edges that muffle its wing beats, allowing it to approach prey in complete silence. From a perch, it listens with exceptional hearing, able to pinpoint a wood rat or mouse rustling in the leaf litter below before dropping in a silent, deadly glide. Because these owls require large, undisturbed territories, their presence is a barometer for the health of the forest, and their protection has been at the center of conservation debates, highlighting the conflict between resource extraction and the preservation of ancient habitats. When dawn breaks and the owl's silent hunt ends, the forest floor comes alive with the sounds of a different society, a flock of bronze-feathered birds governed by communal ritual and the search for the morning's meal. That society belongs to the Merriam's wild turkey, a subspecies uniquely adapted to the mountainous west. These large, powerful birds are highly social, spending their days in flocks, scratching through the pine litter for acorns, seeds, and insects. Their bronze and iridescent plumage flashes with metallic greens, reds, and purples in the sunlight. As evening approaches, the flock prepares for the nightly ascent, flying up with powerful wing beats to roost in the high, safe branches of ponderosa pines. Spring transforms the flock's dynamic as the gobbling of the males or toms resounds through the forest. They engage in elaborate courtship displays, fanning their tails, puffing their feathers, and emitting a deep drumming sound to establish dominance and attract hens. Yet not all forest dwellers rely on speed, flocks, or camouflage for safety. One resident moves with a deliberate waddle, protected by an armor of 30,000 reasons to be left alone. That deliberate waddle belongs to the North American porcupine, a creature that needs no speed to survive. This large rodent is armed with one of the most effective defenses in the animal kingdom, an estimated 30,000 quills. These sharp, hollow hairs have microscopic barbs at the tip, and contrary to myth, they cannot be shot. When threatened, the porcupine simply turns its back. A slight touch is all that is needed for the quills to detach and embed themselves in an aggressor. Warmed by body heat, the barbs expand and work their way deeper with every muscle movement, creating a painful and unforgettable lesson. This formidable armor allows the porcupine a placid, herbivorous lifestyle. It is an excellent climber, and during winter it subsists on the inner bark of pine trees, gnawing for days from a single perch. Its slow-moving nature is a testament to a life where the best defense is not to flee, but to simply be unassailable. This world of pine and shadow, however, eventually gives way to a landscape even more ancient and exposed, where to be unassailable is a far greater challenge. Northward, the final journey brings us to the vast, arid tablelands of the Colorado Plateau, a landscape of immense scale where survival depends on keen senses and endurance. This is a high, cold desert of mesas and profound canyons where the sky is dominant and the silence is a physical presence. Life here is adapted to openness and exposure. It is here, in this immense emptiness, that a sound once silenced has returned. The howl of a creature that embodies social complexity and a fragile, hard-won recovery. That howl belongs to the Mexican grey wolf. Once extirpated from the wild, El Lobo has returned through a painstaking reintroduction program. This is the rarest subspecies of grey wolf in North America, and the pack is an extended family bound by deep loyalty. Their howl is not just a call in the night, it is a social glue, a way of celebrating the pack's unity. A hunt for elk is a cooperative masterpiece of intelligence and endurance, as the pack works as one to test a herd and execute a strategic chase. This comeback story, however, is haunted by a severe genetic bottleneck. The entire wild population descends from just 7 founders, making their long-term survival in these ancestral lands a precarious endeavor. While the wolf fights to reclaim the land, a different survivor, a creature from the age of mammoths, is reclaiming the sky. High above the chasms where these wolves roam, a shadow with a nearly 10-foot wingspan glides on the air currents, the California condor, a Pleistocene survivor. This bird once soared over a landscape populated by mammoths. It is a master of soaring flight, using its immense wings to ride thermals for hours, covering vast distances in its search for food. As an obligate scavenger, it is the canyon's cleanup crew, its bald head a crucial adaptation for feeding deep inside a carcass. Driven to extinction in the wild in the 1980s, the condor has been returned to these skies through a monumental captive breeding effort. Yet their freedom is conditional. Their greatest threat is an invisible one, lead poisoning from ingesting ammunition fragments in the animal remains they eat. The sight of a condor, with its numbered wing tag against the canyon's vastness, is a symbol of both ancient endurance and modern fragility. But where the condor represents a mastery of scavenging, another raptor rules these same skies through sheer predatory power and breathtaking speed. While the condor is a master scavenger, a patient cleaner of the world's bones, the golden eagle is the plateau's supreme aerial predator, a vision of fierce and untamable elegance. But to see it merely as a hunter is to miss the point. To see it is to witness a living embodiment of the sky's power. With a wingspan that can exceed 7 feet, this powerful raptor does not simply fly, it commands the air, soaring in high, patient circles or perching on a cliff edge like a feathered monarch. From this vantage, its legendary eyesight, many times sharper than our own, scans the ground below. It is a gaze that misses nothing, a biological marvel capable of spotting the nervous twitch of a jackrabbit's ear from over a mile away. What happens next is the spectacle of physics and predatory perfection. The attack, known as a stoop, is not a flight but a fall. Folding its wings into a blade, the eagle plunges toward its target, a thunderbolt of feather and bone at speeds approaching an astonishing 150 miles per hour. The air shrieks past its fall. For the jackrabbits, marmots and prairie dogs below, there is rarely a warning, only a final shadow. But this raptor's ambition doesn't end there. It is fully capable of taking down animals as large as fox or even deer fawns. Its feet are not for perching. They are formidable weapons. Long, scythe-like talons, backed by crushing muscle, can exert hundreds of pounds of pressure per square inch, a grip that can sever a spine and dispatch prey instantly. Yet, this fierce hunter lives by a code of profound loyalty. Golden eagles often form lifelong pair bonds, a partnership that endures across decades. Together they build enormous nests or eyries on the most inaccessible cliff faces, returning year after year to the same sacred lake. They add to the structure each season until it becomes a massive, tangled fortress of sticks weighing over 1,000 pounds, a testament to a dynasty. They are the undisputed tyrants of the plateau's sky, living symbols of a wild power that answers to no one but the wind. Deeper within the landscape, in the pinyon juniper woodlands that cover vast swathes of the plateau, a different kind of sovereignty holds sway. Here, a noisy, sociable flock of blue-grey pinyon jays moves through the trees, not as rulers, but as the forest's own planters and cultivators. Have you ever wondered how a forest thinks? You might find the answer in their collective mind. This particular species of corvid has an entire existence that is inextricably entwined with the pinyon pine. In the autumn, as the cones open, the jays engage in a frantic, almost delirious harvest of pinyon nuts. A single jay, using a special pouch in its throat, can carry dozens of nuts at a time, and over the course of a season may cache more than 20,000 of them. It buries them in small clusters across thousands of acres, a seemingly impossible task of distribution and recall. But this is not random. The jays possess an extraordinary spatial memory, a cognitive map of their world so detailed it defies comprehension, allowing them to relocate a significant portion of their caches throughout the lean months of winter and spring. And what of the nuts they fail to recover? Those are not lost. They are perfectly planted, positioned to germinate and ensure the regeneration of the very forest they depend on. This symbiotic relationship is the ancient beating heart of their world. Their social structure is just as remarkable, with flocks of up to several hundred individuals behaving like a single cohesive organism. They are in constant conversation, a stream of harsh, squawking calls that relay information about food, predators, and social order. To listen is to hear the woodland's own nervous system at work. They are the intelligent, collective memory of this place, ensuring its future one forgotten seed at a time.
What you're really seeing with the jays and the pines is co-evolution in its purest form. The birds have shaped where the forest grows, and the forest, in turn, has shaped the bird's mind, rewarding this incredible, almost unbelievable memory. The two species are so deeply intertwined now that you can't really tell the story of one without telling the story of the other. Their fates are completely linked.
On the high grasslands of the Kaibab Plateau bordering the Grand Canyon's north rim, a shaggy, formidable shape moves against the horizon, a silhouette that feels ancient and profound. The American bison, the largest land mammal in North America. These are not ghosts of a forgotten past, but a living, breathing herd that has returned to this landscape. A single chapter in a continent-wide story of near extinction and miraculous recovery. To stand near a full-grown bull is to feel the ground tremble. He can stand 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh a ton, a creature of immense earth-shaking power and yet surprising agility. Bison are quintessential grazers, their broad mouths perfectly suited for consuming vast quantities of grass. But their role was never just to eat. Their historical role was that of a landscape architect. Their grazing patterns, their thunderous migrations, and even their daily habits shaped the very structure of North America's grasslands for millennia. Their wallowing behavior, rolling in dusty depressions to shed parasites and winter coats, creates unique water-retaining microhabitats that become home to a host of plants and insects. They live in complex matriarchal herds with wise old cows leading the family groups, while the bulls often live solitarily or in small bachelor groups. That is, until the summer rut, when the plains are filled with their deep guttural bellows and the shocking violent clashes between males echo for miles. The presence of bison here is more than just an ecological success. It is a powerful reminder of the continent's wild heritage and the fragile yet persistent potential for restoration. But life on the high plains thrives not just on the surface, but in a world hidden just beneath it. Low to the ground and built like a furry wedge of muscle, the American badger is the undisputed master of excavation. This is a creature of immense power and ferocious, uncompromising temperament, a fossorial carnivore that makes its living by digging. Its entire body is a testament to its subterranean lifestyle. Short, immensely powerful legs armed with extraordinarily long front claws that never stop growing, a flattened, muscular body that allows it to press through soil, and translucent third eyelids that act as natural goggles to protect its eyes from flying dirt. A badger can dig through hard-packed earth with astonishing explosive speed, disappearing from sight in minutes as soil erupts behind it. But this digging is rarely for shelter, it is for the hunt. It preys upon the other burrowing animals of the plains, prairie dogs, ground squirrels, and pocket gophers. A badger will lay siege to a burrow system, its claws tearing at the earth in a shower of soil and stone, a picture of relentless, single-minded determination. Once a badger has chosen its target, its prey has almost no chance of escape. Its famously fierce disposition means it has few natural enemies. When cornered, a badger becomes a whirlwind of fury, hissing like escaping steam, growling and releasing a foul musk in a formidable display that can deter even large predators like pumas. But this solitary digger holds one of the prairie's greatest secrets. In one of nature's most unusual partnerships, badgers are sometimes observed hunting cooperatively with coyotes. How could this be? The alliance is a masterpiece of lethal strategy. The badger digs to flush rodents from below, and the faster, more agile coyote catches them if they bolt for the surface. It is a temporary, brutal pact between two supremely skilled hunters of the open plains. Standing motionless in the shallows, the great blue heron is the patient, prehistoric sentinel of the river's edge. It can stand 4 feet tall, a slender silhouette of grey-blue feathers, a long serpentine neck, and a dagger-like bill. Its hunting strategy is a masterclass in stillness and explosive speed. For long minutes it remains as immobile as a statue, its keen yellow eyes scanning the water for the slightest flicker of movement. It is watching for fish, frogs, or even small snakes. When prey comes within range, the heron's neck uncoils with lightning speed, its bill striking the water to impale or snatch its victim. A quick toss of the head and the meal is swallowed whole. These birds are masters of their domain, typically solitary hunters who stake out and defend feeding territories along the riverbank. Yet they are communal nesters. High in the canopy of the largest cottonwoods, they build large, messy stick nests in colonies called rookeries or heronries. The raucous guttural squawking of dozens of nesting pairs and their young can fill the air for hundreds of yards, a stark contrast to the silent patience of the hunt. The presence of the great blue heron is a sign of a healthy river, a living monument to the quiet, deadly drama that unfolds daily in the shallows. Deeper within the river system, the American beaver is at work, not merely living in the habitat, but actively creating it. Once nearly eliminated from Arizona, it has made a remarkable comeback, particularly along the San Pedro and Verde rivers. This is the ultimate ecosystem engineer, a rodent whose industriousness reshapes the very landscape. Its work begins with its most famous trait, the construction of dams. Using its powerful self-sharpening incisor teeth, a beaver can fell a 6-inch diameter willow tree in minutes. It then drags the branches and logs into the stream, weaving them together and plastering the structure with mud and stones. The purpose of the dam is to create a deep, still pond. This pond provides protection from predators like coyotes and bobcats and allows access to the beaver's primary residence, a large lodge built of sticks and mud with an underwater entrance. But the effects of this liquid engineering ripple outward through the entire ecosystem. The dam slows the river's flow, reducing erosion and allowing sediment to settle. The pond recharges the groundwater, raising the water table and allowing the riparian forest to expand. The still, shallow water and marshy edges create a vibrant wetland, providing ideal habitat for fish, amphibians, waterfowl, and countless insects. By creating a pond, a single beaver family can transform a stretch of simple stream into a thriving, multi-layered wetland, a biodiversity hotspot that is a testament to the profound power of this humble, hard-working engineer. High in the sky above the river, a far more famous icon circles on broad, powerful wings, the desert-nesting bald eagle. While typically associated with the lakes and coasts of the north, Arizona is home to a unique and resilient population that has adapted its life to the state's warm, arid climate and rugged topography. Instead of nesting in the tops of massive trees, which are often scarce, many of Arizona's eagles build their enormous nests on inaccessible cliff faces and pinnacles overlooking the Salt and Verde rivers. These nests, called eyries, are used year after year, with the eagles adding new material each season until the structures can weigh over a ton. Their lives are governed by the river's bounty. Their primary food is fish, which they snatch from the water's surface with their powerful talons in a dramatic display of aerial hunting. They will soar high above the water, spotting a fish from a great distance, then plunge in a controlled dive, their talons extended. They are also opportunistic, feeding on waterfowl, turtles or carrion when the opportunity arises. The recovery of the bald eagle in Arizona from just a handful of breeding pairs in the 1970s is a major conservation success story, a symbol of wild resilience and the critical importance of protecting the state's river corridors. As dusk settles, the daytime hunters give way to the creatures of the night, perhaps none more emblematic of the riparian corridor's nocturnal life than the raccoon. With its familiar black-masked face and ringed tail, the raccoon is a creature of supreme intelligence and adaptability. Its defining feature is its front paws, which are exquisitely sensitive and function almost like human hands. This tactile sense is so acute that the raccoon often forages by touch, probing along the river's edge, under rocks, and in hollow logs for crayfish, frogs, insects, and snails. Its famous dowsing behavior, rinsing food in water, is not about cleaning, but about enhancing this sense of touch. Wetting its paws increases their sensitivity, giving the raccoon a clearer tactile image of what it is about to eat. It is a true omnivore, its diet shifting with the seasons to include everything from fish and bird eggs to berries, nuts, and the sweet pods of mesquite trees. Its clever, problem-solving mind and generalist diet have allowed it to thrive in these rich corridors, a testament to the evolutionary success of being a curious and adaptable opportunist. Hidden in the murky bottoms of the river's slow-moving pools and backwaters is the Sonoran mud turtle, a creature whose lineage stretches back millions of years. This small, unassuming reptile, typically no more than 6 inches long, has a smooth olive-brown shell. It is a true aquatic generalist, an omnivorous scavenger that plays the vital role of a cleanup crew. It walks along the bottom, probing the mud with its head, feeding on aquatic insects, snails, carrion, and submerged plant matter. Its life is a blend of aquatic activity and terrestrial necessity. Females must leave the water to dig nests in the sandy soil of the riverbank, where they lay their clutches of eggs. But the turtle's most remarkable adaptation is its ability to survive the desert's punishing droughts. If a pool or stream begins to dry up, the Sonoran mud turtle can travel overland to find a new body of water. If none is available, it will bury itself deep in the cool, moist mud and enter a state of dormancy called estivation, slowing its metabolism to a crawl and waiting patiently for the return of the rains. This ability to endure makes it a true survivor, a quiet, armored link to the river's ancient past. This journey through the landscapes of Arizona reveals a tapestry of interdependence, a web of life where each species is connected to its environment and to others in profound ways. From the bat's pollination of the saguaro to the pinyon jay's planting of the forest, and from the prairie dog's burrows that shelter owls to the puma's victims that feed condors, the health of these ecosystems lies in the integrity of these connections. A common thread unites all these stories, the pervasive influence of water. Long-term drought intensified by a changing climate is the silent stressor affecting every species. In a land defined by aridity, the struggle for water, from the tortoise storing it in its bladder to the elk migrating to summer streams, is the struggle for life itself. The delicate balance between these ancient ecosystems and the pressures of the modern world is increasingly precarious. Habitat fragmentation from roads and sprawling urban development severs ancient migration routes for elk and pronghorn. The suppression of natural fire regimes chokes the forests of the Mogollon Rim, while increasing temperatures make them more vulnerable to catastrophic blazes and insect infestations. The stories of the wolf and the condor, in particular, underscore a fundamental truth. Even in the wildest of landscapes, the future of wildlife is now inextricably tied to human decisions and conservation action. Their return from the brink is a source of hope, but their continued existence is a responsibility. The puma slipping through the forest, the bison grazing under a vast sky, and the tarantula hawk dragging its paralyzed prey are all symbols of an enduring, untamed nature. They are the living embodiment of millions of years of adaptation to a challenging and beautiful land. Yet their persistence in a changing world depends on a deeper understanding, a greater sense of stewardship, and a greater respect for the fragile threads that bind them to the sky and stone of Arizona.
All these stories ask a fundamental question of us. We now play a role in every one of these connections, whether we want to or not. The survival of these ancient systems isn't just a scientific problem, it's a moral one. It forces us to decide what we value and to recognize that their resilience and our own are, in the end, the very same story.